And we need to have a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor, raise your right hand. We will move forward. We're going to be generous and gracious and nice to our districts 2 and 4 who are here. And we're going to allow District 2 to give us an overview of their district's budget this time. District 2.
Thank you very much. Ms. Parnell, our CFO, will start off with some of their information and I'll follow up.
Sounds about right.
Appreciate you.
So I think the first bullet point is,
Do you want me to pull it up?
if you don't mind,
Okay,
yeah.
sure. And there might be,
Try to keep it really short and sweet. I have a board member who tells me I only have 3 minutes every month to
You
do
put
my
you on the clock.
presentation, so I'm used to
That is
being
a
short and sweet.
well-trained board member too, just so you know.
I think the first thing was our student enrollment.
enrollment, it is.
And we did have about 25 students come in on the 45th day, but then we turned around and lost about 21 at the 135th day. So we netted about 4 students this year. Hopefully next year we'll get more. We did do away with out of district tuition, so we were hoping that would kind of increase our enrollment a little bit. This has no staffing changes, but we did have a grant that went away that we had some interventionist positions paid through. So those positions are going away. Everybody has been offered a job. Nobody's losing a job. And then we will add a one-on-one shadow at Honeypath Elementary next year. We have a student that needs a one-on-one shadow. And then we added 2 long positions, 2 groundskeepers in January. We had a contract company doing that, and the performance just got a little not what we would want it to be. So we decided to hire our own, and they've been doing a fantastic job. So yeah.
Very good.
I have a question. The student needs
Yes,
a
sir.
shadow.
Yes, sir.
What's the reason?
I really don't know that.
A lot of times that's determined by the IEP, and so
Right.
they do a full evaluation. It's behavioral and also achievement needs, and they put in those accommodations in order so that child can kind of be on the same level field as everyone else. So if that requires a one-on-one, which that's a very special situation, then the IEP will dictate that.
Yeah, I was asking that question. I was listening to the news this morning.
Uh-huh.
Assistant principal in Virginia has been held on 8 criminal counts for child neglect because that's happened. That's why I was just asking that. That was scary to me to hear that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yes, sir.
really? She's been held criminally liable.
Yeah. So if it's okay with the board, so the priorities are really the initiatives with this year's budget is we want to provide our teachers with a $2,000 step, which is what our governor's board has communicated, and then our legislators have communicated. A step increase for all employees is required. That's not funded, but adding an additional step for years of service. That's also a funding goal, an additional step added to all the salary schedules. So our employees, regardless of the salary schedule that they are on per their position for their years of service, those are at the very end, will add an addition. So when you add $2,000 to the beginning salary of the teachers with bachelors plus a step, that's about a 4% increase, which is just below inflation. So the spending power of their salary next year will just keep track of inflation. And then the 3% increase, and then also the step for those support schedules will also be about a 4.1, 4.2 increase. So that's a consistent increase across the district for all of our employees. One of the things that we identified, and Laura in our HR department does this every year, is they'll do a salary study about the schedules that are competitive and those that we could touch a little bit more to make them more competitive. The last 2 salary schedules that we have to touch, that we've not touched in 5 years, is our building level administrators and our district office administrators. And this year, we wanted to touch our building level administrators so they would be just as aggressive and is be in line with our other salary schedules. And so one of the ways we did that is increasing our principal days, all of them, to 240 days, which is in line with most of the rest of the county, if not all of the upstate. And then also compress those salary schedules so that and our other salary schedules. So that was another goal of this budget.
And, when we did the budget, I feel like we're gonna need about $559,000 of our fund balance to balance our budget. But I feel like we can do our budget without a millage increase with where our budget is, with no millage increase. And then our board, has not requested any pay. So I don't think there's been any talk of.
No, there's no desire on our board of just that they would prefer to serve for the reasons that they ran for office and served their community. So that was completely unanimous across our 7 board members. Is there any questions that you have for us or any clarification that we can provide? I know y'all have the presentation in front of you.
Again, all around it relates to the population growth and how will it affect your budgets in the future?
Yes, sir. So the Anderson County did a demographic study, I believe around 2015 or 16, and the result of that is still pretty consistent. We're experiencing started to build yet, but the growth is coming. We're aware of that. Probably our biggest, work or some additions to those facilities to hold their students. But yes, sir, that's a part of our capital improvement plan district-wide that we have.
But all the funding for that is coming in the years to come.
Yeah, in order for any South Carolina district, in order to do a significant capital improvement plan, that'll require the selling of general obligation bonds. So whether that is capturing our 8% each year, or whether that is going out for a referendum to address those needs, both of those will be viable options, yes, sir, to be able to meet those facility needs.
A question, an observation, the support schedules increased by 3%. Is that an aggregate of all of the increases, including that $2,000 step increase? Would that be comparable to that?
So what we did was, when I did the $2,000 increase on the teacher salary schedule, that was about a 2.9% increase average over the whole schedule. So that's why we chose to do 3% for all our other support staff schedules.
Mr. Superintendent, been a former superintendent, why is it that the administrative staff is just getting an increase in days or money? I know you're increasing their days, but they're really not getting an increase in salary.
Dime that we possibly can budget to go into our classrooms, that was our goal. So we spent an immense amount of our budget industry and our dollars to touch our teachers and touch our support staff. And we were very visible with that. We cut 4 positions at the district office in the last 4 years in order to be able to move those funds to real FTEs in the classroom. So that was pretty intentional for our people to see that our administrators are touched last. We're also adding to each cell, increasing those to make those a little bit more attractive in addition to compressing those steps. Yes,
My
sir.
argument is pay those folks, because if they don't do well, schools don't run.
You're an average principals, that's a district you probably don't interest you in go to.
And then finally, I know I've asked several questions. A district in our county is going to receive compensation for their board members. I think that all folk need, I know that's not in your budget, but we'll have a discussion later.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank y'all for y'all.
Thank
Appreciate
Thank
y'all.
you for coming. District 4.
I didn't want them to get you confused with Lord.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us here tonight and giving us an opportunity just to speak for a minute. And I'll kind of go through this. First, talk about that increase in 5 years. This is pre-K, 4K to 12th grade. We've grown 229 students in the last 5 years. We're actually growing this year. I don't remember, Susan, as we talked about this, that number is about 48
Okay.
more. And I looked at our 135-day numbers last week after we talked.
Mhm.
That number is close to 48 this year in number of students. So we've gained students, but which 1 out of 6 students in our school district have some type of special education needs. And that has created students. I couldn't tell you the number per year that was. Right now, I could get that information, but that's been a growth area for us is in our special needs population. And as you look down at that next group, let me talk about enrollment again, about one more thing. The state, I think it is the nation as a whole, is seeing a increase in homeschool students. And we've grown just in the past 3 years, about 140 homeschool students. So some of our growth is being captured. Grade 2 going back to kindergarten, grade 6 going back to first grade. We've grown in every single one of those cohorts over the past 5 years. So we're not growing quite as much as we anticipated 4 years ago. Is a good thing, but it does bring about challenges. This particular budget has 8 new positions. 5 of those are certified positions. One is we're moving our model away from K through 6 and 7th and 8th grade in middle school. We are opening a new building. We're moving our middle school to the current Pendleton High School, and we will be 6 through 8 at that school. So we're adding an assistant principal, assistants as well. We have an additional band instructor for the district. We have another specialist. Those 8 positions, but 4 of those 8 are in special education. Again, I said that about teacher at the middle and high school. So we're doing a full ag program at our middle school, and we'll have 2, like what Mr. Johns just talked about. Other positions, all other support positions, 3% increase plus a step, and that methodology around that was similar to what District 2 just talked about. No millage increase. We are tracking our local revenue. We budget at around 92% of say the right historical collections, and that's historically what we're collecting is around 92%. So that's how we're basing that local revenue number. We're not considering a board pay at this time. One of the things that we have done the last 4 years, it's the same amount for everybody, $1,500. And you think that doesn't make a difference? It makes a difference for our employees. Instead of budgeting that money, we're just really very conservative about whether or not we're going to be able to do that, and that depends on our local revenue, whether or not we're able to do it. We feel good about offering it again, and we will pay that out to all of our employees in August. Very pleased that our board has been able to do that into our a capital fund. We have no plans to ask for GO bonds for the next 5 years. We anticipate the majority of our capital needs being taken care of, one, with the referendum, years as well. We are also proposing that our district office, that proposal will come up probably not till August, but we're proposing that our district office move to the Riverside facility. As you may or may not know, that is the former, it was original intent was for it to be used as the black school in Pendleton. That school has a lot of history, tradition, and legacy in our community. We want to keep that as an educational facility. So the administration is going to propose to our school board to move our district office there and really have the district office, but also do some partnerships with some other educational groups. In my mind, I've got Tri-County in mind because they're right at our back door. But we may even evolve into partnering with a local daycare, which maybe we would help our employees out, but also help some of our low-income families in our community as well. So we're excited about the possibilities. We don't have all the plans done. We don't exactly know everything that we're going to do, but we are excited about that. And then we would. Did I miss anything? I don't think so. Any questions? Yes,
You
sir.
said you got your homeschool increased 140 this year.
No, sir, over the last 3 years.
How many do you have total?
316 homeschool kids,
So
students.
it's basically double.
It's almost,
Close to it.
since 22-23, we had 180 in 22-23. We've got 316 now.
How does that affect you? How does homeschooling affect your school?
How does it affect our school?
Is it a positive or a negative? I
Well,
mean,
it really depends. It depends on when they come back
Depends on who you have.
or if they come back. It affects our numbers in, say, kindergarten and first grade, where we staff. Kindergarten's a little bit harder to staff because you're just not sure how many are going to be there. And we can show out LaFrance Elementary School, for instance, 5 years ago had 65 kindergarten students. Last year they had 52, 53. I got 3 teachers teaching 52, 53 students. This year we had already allocated 3 teachers. We had 42 kindergartners at LaFrance. So when we get them from homeschool is generally in 2nd and 3rd grade. That's when it seems, but yeah, I mean, we also staff based on those numbers, and we have students leave during the school year to be homeschooled. So we're
so it
staffing.
injects unpredictability.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much. We appreciate y'all coming tonight.
Thank y'all so much.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, great.
I understand.
Now do something.
Joanne, still agree. Yeah. Yes.
That's my dad used to hear. Smack. That's from that. Now do something.
So it's real love.
Mark, can y'all have the other three, District 3?
The homeschool thing is interesting,
Wait, I can.
but they put them back in school in higher grades because they find second
You
teachers.
do it.
But I had a teacher. Homeschool district.
We don't have a copy there.
Those.
Of this?
Homeschool associations.
This part right here?
And he wasn't homeschooled. Oh, and there.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and go through districts 1, 3, and 5, just going through that same format that the other 2 districts went through. And then if you have any additional questions, I told the superintendents that I would reach out to them with any of your questions that you may have. All right, so for District 1, currently they are seeing a decrease of approximately 191 students. And this is over the 135 ADM from this time last year. So they have seen a big decrease in their students
And this one.
in District 1. Yes, yes. I think we're seeing we're seeing a decrease in every district except for District 4 had a slight increase with them. Some of their staff and personnel changes, they plan to reduce 5 positions based on those enrollment numbers. However, they still need to provide for additional staff at the new elementary school that they're gonna be opening. And it's really going to depend on how many K-5 students may be coming in, how many people may be coming back from homeschool. So there may be some personnel changes. They're expecting possibly 5, but that could be less.
We haven't had that this information on.
We do not, I thought I'd print this. I can print this real quick.
Is there any explanation for their drop and for their decrease?
We got a handout here, but that's not what you're going by, right?
No, this is the handout that District 1 gave me, and I took the information from there and also from talking with District 1. If you'd like me to print this real quick, I'll get Joy to go grab it. Make it easier for you to read.
How many are you gonna do? Two,
Uh,
1 and 5,
1, 3, and 5.
print on 3 of them.
Okay. I know, I'll get out of this.
Really all 5 of them, I guess.
It should print the whole.
Yeah, I mean.
All right, so going back to District 1, again, they have plans to reduce their staff by 5 positions based on enrollment, but that will be, they may need that staff for that new school. And they do plan to add a guidance counselor for the new school. So that is one position that they will add.
Susan, was there an explanation for the decrease, the anticipated decrease in enrollment?
We know that there is, they've talked also about the homeschool, kids being in homeschool, and they talked about also with the K-5 being down, the numbers, that they're continuing to see that decrease year over year. And they are expecting another decrease this year in kindergarten students.
So, this is 5 positions district-wide.
Yes.
Does that include staffing for the new elementary school?
Currently, yes, but that's the plans, but they said they may need that for the new school. Salary increases, currently they're looking at the 2,000 per teacher plus their step increase. Bus drivers, a 2% increase, other positions, a 2% increase. And then, of course, a step raise for any employee that's on that salary scale, so they would get that step. Millage, they're not recommending an increase at this time. They plan to use fund balance as needed to balance their budget. And when asked about if their board was considering any pay, they said no, their board was not considering that at this time either. Any questions about District 1?
I would say that that's of course, an example of rooftops don't actually equal increase in students, but I want to be careful by saying that because I think there probably is an increase, but if it's in homeschool,
Mm-hmm.
and how do these districts prepare when, I mean, a month into the school, those home kids could be turned into public education, just because the parents don't want to do it anymore.
They could.
And so you have to be ready for that because that could possibly happen.
Mm-hmm.
And just like he said, when you usually come in at grade 2 and 3.
It's hard to project
How do you,
that, too.
It's hard
how do
to
you plan or
project those.
project for that?
Mm-hmm.
With all the many houses, they do,
Right.
but I don't know where.
I was gonna say, yeah,
Students
I don't
can
think it's a
come in
decrease in
and
actual
school facility anytime,
children,
Because if somebody
because
moves into the
the
area.
rooftops would say
Right.
differently. you know.
So somebody can start
How do we
homeschooling and
verify
I'm
that?
decide I don't wanna do this anymore.
They have to
Here's
sign
your
up
check.
for that.
It should be on the enrollment reports that the State Department gets as well. On that information.
On those reports,
Mhm.
not only homeschool, but is there data to see kids in that district that are choosing other forms of it, private,
Out of
charter
district,
school,
Charters.
out of, that would be,
possibly.
because of District One's location, I would be curious if they are affected more
Then
by
others.
that than others.
Yeah.
Just curious, that,
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this, I mean, like you say, rooftops, they don't add up.
What you wanna do that? Oh,
I will take a look at those reports and see if I can find out any information. If not, I'll reach out to the districts and see if they have any information on that. They can tell us.
decrease. Okay, can he hear us?
I think he can.
Greg, can you hear us?
You're not answering.
I don't know.
I think he's
You'll be
muted
answering.
on his end because Mark was muted on his end. a
Yeah, I
while
can hear
ago.
you.
He may be muted on his end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't hear them.
When I did analyze School District 1's revenue for their ad valorem this time, they were looking at a little, right at 30 million for their ad valorem. And their current mill value is $178,409. So that puts them using at 98.3% again this year. And we know they've been consistently using something greater than 95% over the last few years with the Anderson School District 1.
I would also like to add, Reverend Doherty, you may want to add to this, but of what we were made aware of in the meeting that you had, when we see 103 collection rate, that's not necessarily, I think we, over time,
I'm actually gonna address that in
Okay,
our
good.
board meeting
Good, okay.
because that is budget.
right,
What we see in our meeting is budget, but I did go and add some slides that show actual
okay, good.
as well, so that y'all can see what
I
they
think
had
there is,
actually.
and one of the superintendents, maybe Mr. Christopher, but I think there is basically a historical 92% collection rate is what we were kind of
Yeah.
told, and I think you see that there's a historical 92% collection rate. That doesn't necessarily factor in how millage increases over for the budget,
Right.
what Ms. Benninger's talking about, but 92%
I
seems to be the
did-
historical
Yeah.
rate.
I did go back and check with Anderson County because they would have that same value of a mill using that whole millage value and was directed to their ACFR. So their accounting records, and it shows a historical collection of right at 95%. So that's what they're budgeting theirs on, looking at that.
They've been the county.
Mhm.
Is that overall or just by the due date?
Overall, it'd be overall. All right, Anderson School District 2, they went over their information for us. But I did analyze their ad valorem, and looking at their budget this year, they're at 9.8 million for their ad valorem. You can see their current millage value is $51,317. They have 202.1 mills, and they're at about 95.4% of their millage value this year. Anderson School District 3, they have a decrease of approximately 42 students. And again, that's just going from their 135 ADM. Their staff changes for this year, what they're proposing, they're looking to add a psychologist position and also a speech therapist position. So they've got 2 new full-time employees that they would like to add. They are also on their salary increases recommending that their administrators and teachers get $2,000 plus a step, and then all other positions a 2% increase. They did point out that that could change, that 2%, because their board was looking at other recommendations. So once they have their board meeting, they did state that their board was looking at possibly increasing that. So we may see that part increase once we get their budget notebook. They are also not recommending a millage increase. However, when I asked them about board pay, they are not considering board pay, but their board would be interested in health insurance option instead of pay increase. And I heard that from a couple of different boards. I know that was talked about at one time on the state level, but I don't think it got any traction.
They're gonna find out under the ERISA rules, that's gonna wind up as study too.
Mm.
The cost of the insurance.
Okay.
Unless, cause they're not employees,
Oh,
and you can
okay.
only issue insurance to employees.
Didn't know that.
Makes sense.
Makes sense, doesn't
My
it?
makes
company
sense.
can't give you health insurance
Mhm.
and deduct it.
Mhm.
Cause you're not an employee.
Right.
Do they consider a House of Representative member an employee? I think that's what they were looking at, is it being an elected official. So getting it through the state at that level.
Well,
They are reimbursed.
I was
But
about to
does
say,
that
do they
make
get
them
paid?
an employee?
I don't know. But that was, and I know one of the board members, I've heard this from quite often in District 3.
that's
That's
legal.
as
Legislature
being an
can't
elected official,
Are they not?
they want the insurance.
They're not
that's
really-
Same as
They don't really get a salary.
senator or a
They get
House
a
Representative
district
member.
expenses,
But
It's
they
being
get
elected.
a salary
and they get, I think you're right.
Right, that's what I'm saying, but are they, yeah,
for,
are they
for
considered?
their position. They may be elected for selection, but
don't
they
think so.
get
I
paid.
think they
Well,
get
that
paid
also,
per
so
day.
if they implement a $300 a month pay,
Mhm.
does that now make them eligible for health insurance?
$300 a month pay where,
If they were to get.
They were to get paid,
300.
just as you said, the senator gets paid, well, now if this elected position now gets paid, whether it's $500 a month or if it's
Yeah.
$1,000 a month, if that's the only qualification needed to
they're
be
employee.
entitled to that insurance,
Yeah.
would that all they would have to do? That,
Yeah. But that's because you're a paid employee.
yeah,
Even though your selection is by election.
yeah, but follow me what I'm saying, just as the senator is a paid employee,
Mm-hmm.
now the,
If the board,
the board member on the school district were to get paid, is he now a paid employee?
yes,
So
I
why
think
could he
so.
not be eligible for that health
he
insurance?
could then.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So now
But if he's
that may
not-
spur their
that's what I'm
decision
saying.
to pay
If he's
$250
not
a month.
getting paid, he's
Right.
not a paid employee.
You're correct.
Okay?
That is
And
correct.
that's.
But if he is getting paid $250 a month,
He's paid.
would he now be, why could he not now be eligible for that health insurance?
Where's two hundred
Well,
and
if
fifty
you
dollars
look-
coming
if-
from?
If you look at it as a contract
It's not on here.
employee, then it's not, then that wouldn't apply.
Yeah, but contract employees are not as cut and dried as you think they are. If you're working on the premises and providing services and you get remuneration for it, you're an employee.
Okay.
And I think this discussion is not as to be reimbursed for some independent insurance that you would go out and get.
Well, then
This would be
legislators
through
are
state
employees.
insurance.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
I guess the teachers or the senator or all, anybody else.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that's that
Yeah.
question there from District 3 anyway. I don't know about the other.
Giving them the health insurance instead of a pay, well, they don't have pay, so there's no pay increase. But if they provide them health insurance,
Before we get on off track.
then I think they're gonna create a statutory employee relationship.
Excuse me, I call Elmo. Enough already, let's move on.
Okay,
I will say too, with District Three, they're not considering paying their
Yeah.
employee or their board members or giving them health. It's just if they had an option to
Yeah.
do something,
Right.
they said they would like that.
Yes.
Yes, that's it. All right, looking at their ad valorem budget, they're budgeting 7.1 million. Their current mill value is $40,879. They're at 190.5 mills, so they're right at 91.6% of that amount. Anderson School District 4 went through all of their enrollment and staff changes. Just a quick, going through their ad valorem, they are at a little over, or right at 16 million for their ad valorem budget. Their current mill value is $109,180. They have 164.25 mills, and that puts them at 89.1%. All right, School District 5. With School District 5, they have a decrease right now of approximately 203 students, and that's again from that 135 last year to this year. Talking to the superintendent today, she said that K-5 enrollment is trending down and the homeschool numbers have increased, just like we've heard from the other districts. Current enrollment has impacted Title I grades 1 through 3 student-teacher ratios. And they are going to look at smaller class sizes. They're going to go from a 21-to-1 ratio down to an 18-to-1 ratio, just to kind of help those Title I schools. Some of the staff and personnel changes they are looking at, they had 8.5, or they currently have 8.5 digital integration specialists, and they want to move, or they are planning to move those teaching positions to the following. They're going to have 2 teachers for an A5 Connect teacher, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. They want to do 5 elementary math interventionists. One of them will stay a digital integration specialist, and that'll be over throughout the district, and then 0.5 of the position was absorbed right there. Through the district office, 2 secretarial positions were absorbed this year. With teaching positions, they are absorbing 2 positions due to the enrollment, but they are adding 2 new ML teachers, or the multilingual teachers, due to an increase in that student population. 2 of their behavioral assistants, they're staying on the payroll, they're just moving to Title I students. And then they were able to have a savings of approximately $150,000 from eliminating a communications position. They took that position and they redid it as a director position, I was told. McLeese Elementary is now going to be a Title I school because they have that student population there has increased to the point where that can be a Title I school. Some of the other things that Ms. Kelly told me about today, they are going to start a new Connect Academy, and that is a middle school hybrid type academy where the students will be able to learn from home or do the learning online 4 days a week, and then 1 day a week they will return to the district and actually be taught by one of the 2 teachers they have for that Connections Academy. So that's one of the initiatives that they are doing to try to gain some of those enrollments back into District 5 right now. Salary increases. All employees, they're doing, all employees are going to get $2,000 and a step increase. So every single employee will get that. They are not recommending any millage increase with District 5. And then other considerations, board members are being considered for pay for $500 a month, and then the board chair $550 a month. The effective date of that will be December of this year, and it will only be for newly elected board members. So if they're current board members and they haven't finished their term yet, they won't qualify for board pay until they are elected again.
Madam Administrator,
Yes, sir.
you may know this already, but what would be the legal process of this board to perhaps impose pay for the other districts?
To do what?
Impose pay for the other
You-
boards?
You can't, I don't think we have that authority.
We may have.
I would need to
We can
look
withhold
into
money,
that.
but we can't dictate what they do.
I don't think we can with the expenditure side of it.
We need to, I mean,
No, we don't.
yes, we do.
No, we don't. You communist.
Court
I have
can.
a question down
Yes,
here.
yes, it will.
Yes, sir.
It's been asked to me, about the, the overcrowded condition. I know it's not our job.
Uh-huh.
But it's like a 2-to-1 overcrowded position over at Robert Anderson. And what is the district planning to do about that? You got like a 2-to-1 overcrowded condition over there.
What do you mean by 2-to-1 overcrowding?
Speaking with Dr. Kelly today,
I'm
they're
sorry?
not actually overcrowded. They are not at capacity in Robert Anderson. She talked a great deal about that today, about
Yeah.
if you were to look at, and they did a side-by-side comparison where they put the two middle schools together that are over in the Hannah district, compared it to Robert Anderson,
Yeah.
and then just looked at the staffing ratios, and they were right on target of where they needed to be. Also with building capacity, no, they're not at capacity
Okay.
with that school as well.
Okay. No, to answer your question, is that like, it's right at around what, 1,100, or better students over at Robert Anderson. And the other two schools have right at 600-700. And, there have been some community complaints about what they deem as overcrowded condition. Not, when it's overcrowded, it's like more, the staff, maybe I should say staff to student ratio, teacher to student ratio.
I would say to that they really need to reach out to Dr. Kelly and talk to her about that. But listening to her today, it is not overcrowded, and they do have the resources at that school, just like they do at the other two schools.
Yeah.
They knew when they built that school, it was going to be a larger school. They combined two schools to make
Okay.
that, but they also
Yeah.
made sure that they had the resources, the staff, the things there available.
But my word should have been not overcrowded, but the student-teacher ratio at Robert Anderson versus, the other two schools, middle schools.
Correct.
And if I may, I'll piggyback on Ms. Benninger there, having watched their board meetings, and those that may have attended, this has been a great discussion in their
Yeah.
board meetings. And Robert Anderson, if I remember the numbers, was built for about 1,300. So the school is not overcrowded, but then it is double the size of the other two middle schools in there. But from their data, they have done a tremendous job of trying to keep the class sizes and all the same, making sure they're providing the equitable. I think there is a perception.
Yeah.
There's
yeah.
a clear perception that it is
Right.
overcrowded.
Right.
I think,
Yeah, yeah.
that's the exact word. There's a clear perception that it's overcrowded, but I think they've done an admirable job of trying to address that
I believe so.
from their communications.
Mhm.
That's all.
What's the socioeconomic differences between those schools? I've worked at inner city school
Uh-huh.
that was not overcrowded and was really well ran, but the perception was.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Right.
And I worked at middle class schools
Yeah.
with majority populations that were really behaved worse than.
Yeah.
But
Right.
these schools were considered to be in control and
Mhm.
everything's hunky-dory.
I think it gets back to a communication issue
Mhm.
in terms of how that is communicated. Because certainly if you look at the numbers of 1,100 plus students at Robert Anderson and
Right.
Yeah.
500 and
Yeah.
600 at the other two schools, each,
Mhm.
that perception. When people don't know the background of the numbers, like I said, she did a survey and she giving you the background.
Uh-huh.
But if the general public don't get the background, then they don't understand that, but there were,
Right.
even at the last, board meeting, that discussion did come up
Mhm.
at, and, it's been an ongoing discussion now for about, at least for me, for about a year.
Okay.
But this year I started just to start going to the board meeting and listening
Mhm.
to what was going on. And I just played the role of just listening.
I'm sure in a school that size, any kind of disciplinary issues
Yeah,
get blown out of proportion a lot more also.
yeah,
As possible. And they may be occasionally more frequent
mm-hmm,
than in a smaller school, just
Yeah.
because of the sheer number of students.
yeah,
And that makes it look bad. And whereas, they may be doing a great job, they just not get good press.
yeah,
And that's, something that their board needs to be cognizant of, I'm sure.
yeah,
And wouldn't hurt us to monitor it.
yeah.
And sometimes they don't get pressed because of the employees that work in the school, not the kids or the parents.
Mhm.
It's the folk that work there.
Because, some people that, a couple of people I do know, I'm met them, and they have quit because of that. And their words are, it's just too many students now. I can't speak to that, okay? I truly can't.
Mhm.
But that has come up. And,
They thinking too many students for the facility size?
no, they're talking about the student teacher. I shouldn't have said overcrowded. I should have said student teacher ratio.
I wonder if.
That
there-
is the word I should have said.
I apologize. I wonder if Dr. Kelly provided those numbers for student teacher ratio. And I don't know anything about that school. I've
Yeah.
never been to that school, but I can almost guarantee you with support staff and everybody, the student teacher ratio is probably lower.
Totally. And we will have that information
Yeah.
once we get our full
Yeah.
book,
Yeah.
because they do provide all of that,
Yeah.
with that student
Yeah.
teacher ratio, and you can actually, they break it down by school.
Right.
So we will have all that information.
And then I
in
did
just a few
explain
weeks.
to them that that's not our job. That is the job of the District 5 School Board. And I said, but, I can always ask the question
Absolutely.
because that certainly affects budgets. And
Exactly.
And I'll just, I think it's germane to the topic here, in their packet that they provided for us, there's a line item, RAM support for 2 additional APs. So that's new funding that I think they recognize it and they're
Right.
trying to address that. For that RAM, so that's Robert Anderson Middle School.
Okay.
2 additional APs there, so.
And then my last slide with Anderson 5, and you can see it on there. I don't have their ad valorem budget as of yet. I reached back out to Ms. Hurd for that, but she didn't respond before this meeting today. I'm sure I will hear from her in a couple days and I can get that information to you, but I don't have that for tonight. Any questions?
Now, I have another question, and it's not,
For the record, that was me, not Susan responding.
and you all can help me. I mean, it's just when I'm riding around the city, I see the sign vote no on the middle school for, I think, District 2.
That was,
That was defeated.
I'm sorry,
That was defeated.
it was
Mhm,
deleted.
it was.
It's just that I'm
Defeated.
Yeah.
defeated. It's just that I'm seeing that sign. I guess in my neighborhood, the signs haven't gone away and yeah, okay. I just,
Did they vote it down?
they
I'm
did,
sorry.
They did.
they did.
It was defeated, so they are gonna keep the school. I'll go ahead and add the school in District 2, okay?
They needed that to pass.
It was 80-20, wasn't it?
We don't know anybody who will fight through the old school.
That's all I have for our budget workshop. As you go through these packets, if you have additional questions or anything that you want to know from the districts, if you'll let me know, I'll be happy to reach out. We plan to have all the information to us by the end of next week, I believe it is. So I will get that out to you as quickly as possible, and I'll just deliver those to you as I get those finished.
And then we're gonna review that and what's the schedule for voting on those?
So the schedule for voting on that will be at our board meeting in June. We are adding on that budget workshop, I believe it is June 11th. Look real quick. Is it? Yes, it is June 11th is the next budget workshop, and that's just to give you time to go through that book and ask any additional questions. It gives 4 or 5 days for me to get those out to the superintendents, and then that will kind of drive their presentation this time when they come and talk to you at that June board meeting. That will be from your questions.
And one last question I did have with that was, I would like to, with all of the different companies that, that are starting to move in this general area within Anderson County. I would like to know how the different school districts, how that is impacting them. Is it impacting them from a growth of the school or no growth, if I'm making sense, Because I think that is a real thing that's coming down the pike. And it certainly is a concern of mine.
I'll be happy to ask that question.
Yeah.
Dollars or bodies?
I think he's asking in bodies. Are you referring to the number of, the population that's coming in?
Yeah,
that district?
I'm referring to the population but the population and the companies and all of that kind of go hand in hand because,
How many jobs it's gonna produce?
I'm sorry?
How many jobs it's gonna produce?
It's gonna produce jobs.
That's
Yeah,
what
but
I'm
I
saying.
don't know. I don't have that answer. I'm just asking. Basically, I'm saying, are we preparing for it?
Mhm.
That's the basic question.
Well, that goes back to the, how is District 1 reduced bodies in the,
Yeah.
rooftops and industry that's one of the,
It is.
and District
Fastest
4,
growing.
and both of them had a reduction in,
Yeah.
so I don't
District
know,
4
how do
was
you,
the
how
one
do you
that grew
correlate
just
each
a
of those
little
out?
bit.
Yeah.
How do you, I don't know.
Interesting.
It's very confusing. They have decreases in those areas. When the population growth and industry growth
Yeah,
is moving at a rapid pace.
Does anyone else have any other questions you want me to reach out about? All right, we have a couple of minutes. If anyone would like to take a quick break before we start.